Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Matt Bernier, the DRF.com Formulator Race of the Day for Saturday, September the 16th is the Grade 1 $800,000 Woodbine Mile. Let's take a look at this field, one of 4 graded stakes races at beautiful Woodbine on Saturday, and you can access free Formulator Pass performances for the big one, the Woodbine Mile, by heading over to the Race of the Day event page on DRF.com. Download them and handicap along with us. So we take this field in post-position order, and the number 1 is World Approval. Mark Cassidy, of course, won this race last year with the great Tepin. World Approval got a big buyer speed figure last time out in the 4-star Dave handicap, and we may want to take that race with several grains of salt.
Well, it was run over a bog. I mean, we had that crazy rainstorm that came through and delayed the races up at Saratoga for a good half hour, and then they went out there. I have to be honest, I was actually surprised they even ran it on the turf. I know it's a grade 1, but he got out there and he really relished it. He was one of the few, I think, in the race that really appreciated the give in the ground. You look at the forecast up in Toronto this coming weekend and all this week, there is no rain anywhere. It's not that he can't run on firm ground. I just think he's better with some cut in it.
The good news, as you say, though, is he has run well on firm turf in the past. He draws a really nice inside post position with good tactical speed. You have to think that John Velazquez will have him in good position in the backstretch of this one-turn mile. And in some ways, because of the current form he's in, he's the one to beat.
I think he is the horse to beat in here. He also has that beautiful tactical ability where he can go or he can sit just off. I think, again, Johnny V is going to have plenty of options, plenty of opportunities, but he's got that beautiful inside post. I think he's the horse to beat.
Let's talk about the number 2, Tower of Texas, one of the local hopes who was second at a big price to Tepin last year. And he gave Tepin all she could handle in the stretch before dropping a half-length decision. Let's talk about this one's race last time out in the Grade 2 Play the King, the local prep for the Woodbine Mile. You thought he ran a really sneaky good race.
Yeah, I thought he ran huge. There was not a ton of pace signed on in there, and he was toward the back because that's what he does. Take him back, make that one run. At the top of the lane, I thought he was just stymied in behind horses. He had nowhere to go. Finally put in a little bit of a belated run. To me, though, it was the perfect stepping stone to get him into a spot like this. And you know what? They did something, basically the exact same thing last year with him. I think he's going to come into this thing in sneaky good form. I think the mile is not a problem for him. The question becomes, if you think he's not good enough, okay, that's fine. I'm not going to argue with you. Does he get the full pace that he really would appreciate? I don't think they're going to be walking out there, but I also don't think it's going to be some just insanely fast pace, and I wonder if that compromises the deep closers.
Let's throw up the Timeform U.S. pace projector for this year's Woodbine Mile and see, will the pace be fast? Apparently it will be honest, but they've got one of the European runners on the lead, the number 2 A-Rod, probably based on the fact that he was up close to the pace in the Woodbine Mile last year, his lone prior start in North America. If he's on the lead, I have a feeling his pace is not going to be fast.
That's the problem. If it's a European, and I know he's been running in Australia in 2017, but if it's any of these overseas horses that's on the lead, that's a red flag to me. Someone else has got to be cutting out the fractions, and I have to be honest. If they're going that slow, I think John Velazquez on World Approval says, I might be on the best horse, I'm just going to go on with it. Again, I don't think they're going to be walking out there, but I don't think they're going to be going something crazy early on.
There are other possibilities. Glenville Gardens, the 12, was on the lead in last year's Woodbine Mile. Lancaster Bomber has been used as a rabbit for his more heralded stablemate Churchill overseas. And of course, as you mentioned, World Approval's got that wonderful tactical speed. Perhaps John Velazquez will go on with it. We will see if Tower of Texas gets enough pace. Long on Value is a graded stakes winner at a route of ground, but he sort of reinvented himself as he's gotten older as a late-running turf sprinter. Last time out in the Troy handicap, he came widest into the stretch, and he just couldn't make up enough ground against Green Mask, who's probably the best turf sprinter in North America right now.
Yeah, I don't want to hold that against him. I think the thing that concerns me most is this horse hasn't won going a route of ground since 2015. Now, I know it's mainly because he hasn't been campaign going 2 turns, or a mile at least. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like this isn't, it's not a, I don't want to say a spectacular group. It's a very good group. But at the same time, I mean, is this what he wants to do anymore? I don't know that a mile is really in his wheelhouse. I think he's still more of a 5.5 or a 6 kind of horse. And the problem is, if not here, where do you run him?
Number 4 is Best Bard, coming off of a victory, but in for a $40,000 tag that day and taken by a very capable trainer in Norm McKnight. But he's taking a gigantic hike in class. He's 50 to 1 on the morning line.
Yeah, I have no knock against Norm McKnight or the connections here. I just think this horse is way overmatched.
Dragon Bay is a very game 4-year-old that won the Grade 2 Nijinsky going 10 furlongs in pace-setting / pressing fashion 2 starts back. Maybe the Sky Classic last time out at a 1 3/8 was a bit too far. He he has a little bit of speed, and I guess if no one else wants it, he can take it despite cutting back in distance.
Yeah, he can be a little bit more forward, I think. I don't know about the distance in as far as quality is concerned. I think he's probably a notch or two below the best in here.
DeVille disappointed really last time out in the Arlington Million, going 1.25 miles. He was bet to favoritism. He had a beautiful pace-tracking, ground-saving trip. The rail opened up, turning into the stretch. He shot on through, and it looked like he would win, and he was flat the final 1/8 of a mile. He is now cutting back in distance. Do you think he can be more effective at this mile?
I have to be honest. I don't know what to expect because I thought he was just calling a spade a spade. I thought he was terrible in the Arlington Million. I mean, that's the ultimate trip in there. Ryan Moore gave him a beautiful ride. The seas parted. He shot up the inside, and he had absolutely no finish. Now, maybe that was the distance that did him in, but you know what? He'd run decently well at longer distances overseas. So I don't know. The turn back, maybe that's going to help him. I would assume he's going to be a little bit farther off the pace this time around, 2 or 3 lengths off, and you try to make your run. To me, he just screams underlay regardless. Unless you really love this horse, which I can't possibly after that Arlington Million, he's just an underlay to me.
He's one of the classiest horses in the race, however, and reunites with Jamie Spencer, who was aboard for the Belmont Derby score last year. Conquest Panthera won the Play the King, going 7 furlongs last time out, parlaying a very nice stalking trip into victory. He is capable of popping triple-digit buyer speed figures, and there's one thing we know about Conquest Panthera. He really likes the E.P. Taylor turf course.
Yeah, I won't be surprised at all if this horse runs well, and if he even wins this race. I think he's got nice tactical speed. I thought that most recent start was very good. He was leaned on down the stretch by another horse, and he just continued to go on with it. I think the additional distance out to a mile helps too.
Mondial East won the Woodbine Mile in 2015, coming from way off the pace over yielding going. Last year, he won the Arlington Million and ran really well in the Shadwell Turf Mile, a race with no pace. This year, however, in Europe, boy, he just seems flat. Maybe the old boy is getting a little long in the tooth at the age of 7, or all he needs is the L getting back to North America.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. It seems like he does really well over here in the States, or North America in general. I don't know. I mean, his recent form over there isn't very good, but like you said, he's run well at Woodbine in the past. I just wonder, boy, at 7 years old, is he starting to lose a little bit?
I think that might be the case for Mondial East, but we know on his best day, with a little bit of pace, he's very dangerous over this course. A-Rod was 5th in the Woodbine Mile last year, ambitiously placed in Australia since. His last 3 running lines are not very appealing, to say the least, but he is getting Lasix again, and he can be close to the pace.
He wasn't embarrassed in this race last year. I don't know. I don't know what to make of him. We haven't seen him since April, and he was overseas. He was over in Australia. His form overall there, not very good. He's one that I'm just going to pass, and you know, if he beats me, he beats me.
Lancaster Bomber is still eligible for a non-winners of 2 life race for the great trainer Aidan O'Brien, but when seen in North America last year in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, he finished 2nd behind Oscar Performance. We know how good that horse is, and Lancaster Bomber finished ahead of 5 next out winners. I think his form since then is dirtied up. He ran on dirt in the UAE Derby, which I don't think is his best surface. He was used as a rabbit in his 2 subsequent tries. They tried to win 2 back in the St. James Palace. He ran big, only beaten a length, and I think he really disliked the soft ground last time out. He's an interesting horse. What sort of value do you need for him?
Well, that's the problem. I think he's, again, going to be an underlay. I think all the Europeans are underlays in this spot simply because we just have it burned into our brain that their horses are better than ours on turf. I think he is really interesting in here. I would want him used on sort of any kind of tickets that I'm playing, multi-races, simply because of everything you laid out, and I think you laid out the perfect argument for him. I don't think we've seen the best from him just yet, and I don't think he's a true sort of 1 for 11 type.
An under-the-radar European is the number 11 Dutch Connection, who has tried North American racing twice to no avail, but this time with a new trick, and that is Lasix for trainer Charles Hills. Now, he had been banging around in Group 1, Group 2 company. He got the needed class relief last time in a Group 3, and he won. Is it simply a situation where, boy, his confidence is back and he's ready to step it up, or is he at this point of his career a notch below?
I've always thought he's a notch below. I gave him a chance, and I picked him in the Shadwell Turf Mile 2 years ago, and he just was very, very flat. I don't know, maybe a Lasix wakes him up. But the other interesting thing is, I agree with you. I feel like, other than A-Rod, he's the one of the Europeans that's not going to take all of the sort of lion's share, all the focus of the money. If you want to take a European, from capable connections, maybe he's the one.
7 furlongs, however, has always kind of been his best distance. We'll see how he gets the mile. Glenville Gardens, just a really nice horse for Siddhartha, seeking his 10th lifetime win, closing in on $500,000 in lifetime earnings, and perhaps cycling into this race in very good form, making his 3rd start of the form cycle. The last 3 times in his career he's gone 3rd off of a break, he's won.
I like this horse a lot. I think there's a lot of things that, you know what, he's just an honest horse. He can go out and run his race. Similar to Tower of Texas, he had a little bit of trouble at the top of the lane, and I think that compromised him a little bit. I don't know that he's quite as good as the best in here, but I think if you're playing anything underneath, you have to use him at a big, big price.
Pick time for the Grade 1 Woodbine Mile. It's such a prestigious race. Matt, you're going for a big price. The 2 Tower of Texas is 12-1 on the morning line.
Yeah, I made him 5-1, and maybe that's being ambitious and I'm overrating his capabilities. I just think he had legitimate trouble in that most recent start. I think the mile works for him. And there's a part of me that says if he's capable of running the race that he ran against Tepin last year, I think that might be enough to win.
Give me numbers.
2-1, 8-12.
I think 5-2 is the fair price for world approval. If he goes below that, I would be reluctant to bet him to win. I think, though, with his tactical speed in a race where the pace is a little bit questionable, whether they'll be going very fast, I know he'll be close. 1:11.37 for me in the Grade 1 Woodbine Mile, one of 4 graded stakes races on Saturday in Toronto. Approximate post time 6:34 Eastern. Best of luck.